So over the last 2 weeks, I've been recording myself saying saying free as many times as I can in one breath. I got the inspiration for this because I was watching in Portland every year they have this video game swap meet where people compete in Tetris. And I've tried to compete in Tetris before. I don't do very well. I recently got a copy of the NES Tetris, and I usually start at level 7. I've never made it past level 9, but I know I can say a lot of things without taking a breath. Because many years ago, I was trying to recite the periodic table of elements, hydrogen, helium, lithium, going in order. And I remember if I would take a breath, I would lose my train of thought. So I learned to say a bunch of the periodic table without taking a breath, just so I wouldn't lose the spot I was on. So I knew I could say a lot in one breath. And I happened to see the tax commercial. And it just gave me an inspiration that maybe I could try that. And if I get famous for it, maybe it'll be useful in some way. Maybe I could do a TurboTax ad. Maybe they'll hire me to do so. I'm not holding my breath on that, but at least it would be entertainment purposes on YouTube at the very least, right? And I thought I would put in my 10,000 hours. I don't think I'm even up to an hour or two yet, just judging by the videos. I've done it a few times off camera before I started, so everything you see is everything since the first video. I've been recording it just so I can track when I get to 10,000 hours. It'll be a while. To give you an idea, I have spent about 10,000 hours writing computer games competitively, and I still haven't scratched the surface of computer games. So I don't think the 10,000 hour rule is a hard and fast rule. But whatever the case is, and I don't think I'll ever get to 10,000 for saying tax. It's just kind of silly, but I'll see where it takes me. But I thought I'd address another issue, because today I went to Walmart, and TurboTax is selling for quite a lot more than free, so it makes me wonder what the free version actually does. But it's marketing, yeah, whatever the case is, right? But I noticed another tax issue while I was reading online, which is that people are upset about Donald Trump because they're not getting a big tax refund anymore. So most people are paying less taxes under Donald Trump, but they're not getting a big refund at the end of the year because the tables for how much tax the company withholds was also updated, right? Unless they were self-employed, right? But the amount of tax that their HR department withholds has gone down, and then at the end of the year, they're getting closer to what they owed, and they're not getting as big a refund, and that's upsetting some people. And I often watch financial gurus on TV like Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey, and they're saying how a tax refund is like a lost opportunity, right? They didn't get to invest the money. I kind of disagree with that. I kind of disagree with Dave Ramsey on that. I remember a couple years ago, I was working for a tech giant, and I was so busy that I didn't even file my tax return until like 2 years later. I was owed a refund, and when I filed it, I got like $10,000 back altogether. And I invested that $10,000 very well. I feel if I got a little bit every check, I would have frittered it away one way or another. But I still have most of the money that I got in those 2 refunds, and I can't see myself investing the money the way I did if I got it incrementally over 2 years. I just can't. And it just goes to show that personal finance advice is very personal depending on the person who's using it, right? Some people would also swear not to use a credit card, right? Use cash as much as you can. Funny thing is that I tried it, not because I wanted to, but because I had to, because I was traveling, right? I obviously don't have a credit card that works overseas very reliably. So when I go to Japan, when I go to Taiwan, when I go to Europe, I use a lot of cash. And money will completely evaporate. So I'll go to Europe. Actually, I was in Poland not long ago, 3 years ago now, and I had so much loose change at the end of the trip because I would go to the store and I would pull out 100 Zoid or at least 50, right, and buy something, and then I would never get around to using the loose change, right? Over there, self-checkout is not nearly as prevalent. And here in the U.S., at least I would dump it all into a self-checkout machine. And toward the end of the trip, I was eating at a restaurant almost every day during that trip because obviously I have dietary restrictions, and it's hard enough to ask one restaurant for accommodations like that. Once I get that accommodation, they understand what I need to avoid. I usually just go to that restaurant for the rest of the trip, and plus it helps me make a new connection. And I had met a waitress there that I kind of liked, and she gave me some advice on where to go in Gdansk Bay. And on the very last day of the trip, I gave her all the loose change as a tip. There must have been 200-300 Zoid, and she was very happy with it, even though it was all loose change. But that's about as much as she makes in a month, probably. So she was very happy about that. But the point I'm trying to get to is that cash doesn't work very well for me. For that very reason, right? I've used credit cards since I was 18. I've never gone into debt. So it really depends on who you're speaking to. And I get big tax refunds every year, and it's not a problem.
May I have your attention, please? If you have a ticket for chess club, please come to the makerspace at this
Anyways,
time.
I'll come back to this later. Thanks for watching.
If you have a ticket